Welcome back to week 2 of Stretch. Last week, Brendan started this new series by talking about how because we know who God is, we can trust how he has made us. And so a little fun fact for you guys, Imago Dei in Latin means being made in God's image. And so it's the whole idea that we are made in the image of the Creator. And this whole series, True Story, is about looking at true stories in the Bible to learn more about who God is and more about God's character. Because when we understand who God is and who our Creator is, we can better understand who we are. And so this week, we are going to be looking at how, because of who God is and who we know God is, we can do difficult things. So I'm going to be talking about 1 Kings 18, verse 18 through 39. And that's a big chunk, so I'm just going to summarize it, and then I'm going to read the last little bit to you guys. So to give you some background information, this is about a king, King Ahab, who's the king of Israel at the time, and he was not a good king. So he makes a decree over all the people that they need to be worshiping a god named Baal, who they saw as the god of nature. And Elijah sees this, and he's like, this isn't right. And so he gathers about 400 of these prophets worshiping Baal and challenges them to find a bull and some wood for a sacrifice. And once they gather all that stuff, they're supposed to call out to their God to bring fire down onto that sacrifice. And so they gather all the stuff, and they begin to call out to their god Baal and ask it to bring down fire onto the sacrifice. And they do this for hours and hours and hours. And when they can't do it, Elijah steps in, gathers all of the same stuff, and tells them to watch and says this. This is verse 36 through 39. At the time of the sacrifice, the prophet Elijah stepped forward and prayed, Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel and that I am your servant, and have done all these things at your command. Answer me, Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the soil, and also licked up the water in the trench. When all the people saw this, they fell and cried, the Lord, he is God, the Lord, he is God. So here we see that after hours and hours of calling out to their God, Baal, he did not come through, and he did not bring down the fire onto the sacrifice. But all 400 get to see Elijah, one follower of God, call out to the true God and ask him to bring this fire down so that this whole group of people can see who God is and experience who God is and see that he's intentional and loving and kind and trustworthy. And so when we look at who God is and that he is all of these things, it makes sense, right, that we would be ready and willing to step in to whatever challenges he had for us. Just like Elijah, remember, he was one follower of God out of 400 of these followers of a different God. How he stepped into that and how God supported him in that. And so as we're stepping into these difficult things, we need to remember that God is powerful and that he's strong and he's trustworthy, and that we can find comfort and courage in that. With that, though, remember that you are also still human and that fear and exhaustion is a very real thing, and that God is with us in the midst of that as well, because he is gentle, kind, and patient and never leaves us. And so if you've ever backed away from a challenge because you were afraid or tired or overwhelmed or nervous or just anything, remember that we can be strong because of who we know God to be. Because of the fact that he is powerful and loving and strong and trustworthy and so much more, we can do difficult things. Because of who God is, we can do difficult things. So this week, think about challenging situations that God has helped you out in and gave you courage in or support in, and maybe look for some other challenging situations that you can step into, remembering to find courage and peace in the fact that he's powerful and loving and strong and all of these other things, and that who he is will always be there for you to support you in whatever difficult things he calls you into. I hope to see you guys soon. See ya.